Hello and welcome to the SAPPHIRE Tech YouTube channel. My name is Pixel and today we're going to be taking a look at the performance of Cyberpunk 2077 running on our SAPPHIRE Nitro Plus RX 6800 XT graphics card alongside the AMD Ryzen 7 5800X CPU. All the gameplay in this video was recorded at a 1440p resolution, but we're going to be checking out two different graphical presets. One of which is the bog standard ultra quality preset that you can select via the options menu, and the other is my own personal optimized settings that I found to offer much better performance without hurting the overall visual presentation. Now, very quickly before we get started, I want to let you know that we've recently overhauled our entire PC setup and workflow. In theory, this should make creating content much easier and as a result faster. However, there is also the risk that we could stumble into a few teething problems, so we would very much appreciate it if you could leave any feedback and or suggestions down in the comment section. We also plan to greatly expand on our current content offering, so also be sure to slap that subscribe button and activate that bell so that you don't miss out on any of our future videos. But with that said, let's take a look at these ultra settings. The good news right off the bat is that we appear to have no issue holding a solid 60 frames per second while using the ultra quality preset. Visually, the game honestly looks great, the frame times are nice and smooth, and overall, I have to say that the game exceeded my expectations in terms of both presentation and performance. With that said, having looked online, it's clear that this is not the case for many gamers, and so allow me to try and explain why I personally found this game so impressive on a technical level as well as a visual one. Put simply, I can't think of another game that manages to bring together quite so many vastly different elements, techniques and mechanics into a singular package quite like Cyberpunk does. Sure, it's not like it does any individual thing better than the best games on the market that are kinda built around that one particular thing. For instance, Red Dead Redemption 2 has much more dynamic and believable NPCs, GTA 5 contains much more fine-grained systemic detail, Deus Ex does the whole immersive sim elements better, Metro Exodus has unrivaled environmental detail, Death Stranding has more believable facial animations, The Division 2 has got better destruction, and honestly this list can go on and on. However, there has never been a game, at least not one that comes to my mind, that manages to do a decent job of all these things, all at the same time. I see Cyberpunk 2077 as a game that throws down the gauntlet to the entire industry and tells them to up their game, at least here on the PC, and obviously not including all the bugs that will hopefully be ironed out in the very near future. The thing is, if we look at the game from a purely graphical perspective, of course it's going to fall short when compared to much more linear experiences. However, when you take into consideration the openness, the scale, the scope, the density and the detail, Cyberpunk 2077 is honestly in a league of its own. I mean, whilst I appreciate that I'm currently running the game on an incredibly powerful PC, I'm still taken back by the fact that this game even runs at all, so yeah, colour me impressed. Now, moving on over to my optimized settings, we see on average between a 10 and 20% improvement to our frame rates, with there barely being any difference visually. For our optimized settings, we remove film grain, lowered volumetric fog quality to high from ultra, lowered volumetric cloud quality to medium from ultra, lowered screen space reflections again from ultra to high, and finally we lowered color accuracy from high to medium. Oh, and we also lowered motion blur from high to low, but that's really just a personal preference kind of thing. One of the main reasons why we see so little difference in the visuals between Ultra and Optimized is because even when set to Ultra, settings such as volumetric fog and screen space reflections still exhibit imperfections. Whilst technically these imperfections are going to be a little worse with the lower settings, the truth is, due to heavy post-processing applied to the image, in most side-by-side comparisons, it's going to be very difficult to tell the two settings apart. Sure, you can do it, especially when pixel peeping, but I would argue that during gameplay you'd be hard-pressed to be able to tell the difference, and even if you could, it certainly will not be worth sacrificing 20% of your performance, at least not in my honest opinion. That said, if you are planning to play the game on a 1440p 60Hz monitor with VSync enabled, then you could quite literally just stick with ultra settings and still hit that 60fps target the vast majority of the time. Where I think these optimized settings really come into their own is when, like me, you're playing on a high refresh rate FreeSync compatible monitor, as input latency is greatly decreased at higher frame rates and reduces down even further when you are able to maintain a capped frame rate. Now, since we do regularly fall below 90 frames per second, especially during intense combat sections, I've personally opted for an uncapped frame rate. However, fingers crossed, with a few more optimization patches, a small overclock and maybe even a driver update, I'm hoping that I will soon be able to maintain a rock solid 90 FPS, which would allow me to cap at 90, minimizing input latency at the same time as having an extremely smooth experience. Don't get me wrong, I am having a great time with the performance as it is right now, but it would surely be just the icing on the cake or even the cherry on top. Unfortunately, as it stands right now, we don't actually have access to DXR ray tracing, though it is said to be on its way. I'll be sure to check back once it's enabled to see what I think not only of the visuals but also of the performance. Fingers crossed, since CDPR have claimed to be working closely with AMD to get this feature enabled, I'm hoping that we could see it launch alongside Fidelity FX Super Resolution, but only time will tell. For now though, that is going to be me done for today. If you are new around here, please do consider slapping that subscribe button and dinging that bell so you get notified whenever we upload new videos. Once again, if you've got any questions, suggestions or feedback, please leave them down in the comment section. With that said, from myself and everybody here at the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, we'll catch you later. Bye bye.